So, Georgia, do you have any, have you had a transaction yet or in the middle of a transaction?
No, so I am like 6 or 7 weeks in, so I'm still at the very, very beginning. Um,
Okay.
I'm trying to get clients, but no, nothing so far.
So, and you are aware of doing your weeklies? And hold on just one moment. I am so sorry. Okay. Nothing important. Um, so anyway, yeah, just to do your weeklies on lead gen and all of that. Do they have you on a program to get you started out of your
No, so
office?
so I'm on a team with AD Smith. Like
Okay.
it's just the two of us. So he's been like helping me do stuff. But yeah, I am doing like weekly touches and sending out emails and newsletters to my sphere and like I just started farming and doing stuff like that. So
Oh, super.
yeah.
Super. So, well, today, as you know, the topic is we are going to get to close. So it's basically the timeline of what you need to be aware of as you get to the closing table and how those timelines work and what to be aware of as you move forward through those timelines. We're going to do both buyer and seller. So let's see. So you've gone through all of these, hopefully, or where did you jump in at when you first started?
When
I
I first
started on, oh, go ahead, Georgia.
Oh, sorry. I was gonna say like the second or third class with
Oh,
lead
okay.
generation. So yeah.
And I didn't start until 6. So I got to go back and make up 1 through 5.
Okay. So, but you guys are going to be good with me going through this get to close.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Thanks, Sarah. And Sarah, what office are you out of?
I'm at Sunset Corridor.
Oh, okay. I've not been up there. I'm down in Klamath Falls.
We had a Mets and Bounds surveying class that was running a little late. So that's why I'm hopping on.
Oh, no worries. No worries there. Just happy to have you. Okay, so with our timelines, I'm just going to jump in. We're going to make this quick and interrupt me at any time if you have questions. What your best practices are and risk avoidance, which is most of what we do, referrals and reviews, post-close, your recaps, any ahas, and then with your daily success system. So real estate transactions aren't particularly trouble-free. It's strenuous and trying time that requires all the attention and effort you can command, which we have the command system, so you can always set up your tasks that way. And especially if you have the app on your phone, it really helps. I'm still old school, and I do everything on my book, pen and paper. But it helps me to remember because hand-brain coordination actually triggers my memory. So that's too much information about me. So here we go with the timelines. First thing you need to do is find out what your deadlines are on your contract. So you're going to have your inspections, your title report, appraisal, and any other contingencies that are written into that contract will have a timeline. So set your timeline and be aware of that throughout the transaction. And you can also communicate those timelines with the agent on the other side of the transaction. So always, I mean, you can be annoying to the other side and say, hey, how are you doing here? How are you doing there? Is this done? Is that done? Oh, and you also have earnest money as part of those timelines. Here in Klamath with our inspection period, I like to get inspections done within the first week if possible. But we also have a lot of people that like to fish and hunt. So sometimes our inspectors might take 10 days to get us in. You know, if I call on a Monday, they may not be able to do an inspection until the following a week from that Wednesday. So get to know who your contractors are, your home inspectors, and just as soon as you get an accepted contract, you can call for your client or your client can call directly. It depends on who the client is and how much, a lot of people today prefer to do it themselves. A lot of the home inspectors have websites they can go and they can schedule that way. So just be aware of that time period. And you can't wait. Let's say you go under contract on the 2nd. You can't wait for that inspector to show up on the 13th because it's going to take them usually a day to get that inspection report to you.
So do you
So-
usually apply, you do usually, do the offer and have the inspection period? Do you create the offer without the inspection period timeline in the offer? Or is
It's
that
written
added
in the
after?
contract. You fill
Yeah.
out the days. So it's usually it says 10 business days, but I know pending time of year in our area, I might have to put 15 business days. And also, if I know my title company is running a little behind, I might incorporate that as well. Because this way you're meeting your contingencies all about at the same time. So any questions on that other than the timeline in the contract, Sarah? So who all is involved in your transaction? So you have the buyer, the seller, the other agent or agents. You'll have your inspector, you have your title company, you have a lender, in most cases, sometimes cash, and you have the appraiser. And from the lending side, you're also going to have an underwriter. So do you have any questions about the people who are also included in the transaction?
Can you just list them off again?
Oh, here's my memory. Just kidding. You'll have the other agents, the buyer and the seller. And you don't, if you have the buyer, you try not to speak directly to the seller, but sometimes it happens. I prefer to go through the other agent as much as possible, not to muddy the water. But sometimes, like if you need to call at the last minute, you can't get in touch with the agent for the seller and your inspector is outside, you may have to go to the house to let the inspector in when the homeowner's there, and that's fine. But you have, so you have those people, you have the inspector, you have lender, you have title company, and under the lending, you will have, you'll have the underwriter and the appraiser. So it would behoove you to have a list of home inspectors because they're important, because that's usually the kickoff. You know, you get escrow opened and at the same time, you're wanting to get the earnest money if you're the buyer's agent, Make sure that you keep in touch with that buyer, that they get that earnest money in. And then with the seller, it's okay for you to reach out to the buyer's agent and say, hey, did you get that earnest money in? I don't have a receipt for that yet. Something to that nature, and follow those timelines. Because we are a little more remote, sometimes I will give my buyers up to 5 days to get their earnest money in. So, and you can't get earnest money in until that escrow is opened, because they don't have an escrow account to attach that earnest money to. Also outline what your buyers need to know and do for preparing for closing. And especially, we all know, tell your buyers, don't buy anything big until after you close the house. Stay in touch with the lender and make sure that the lender stays on track. What can we do with the appraiser? Order the appraisal right after you go under contract. You have an accepted contract, you order that appraisal. So first day, you would order escrow, inspector, and appraisal. You tell your buyer to send in the earnest money and stay on it, because they forget, they get excited. Tell them if they're getting a loan, don't buy a car, don't buy the furniture, buy your groceries, keep your money in the bank. Any questions on that? So here's the timeline. Earnest money. Let the listing agent know when your inspection is scheduled. You have your inspections. And if you're getting any repairs done, you need to, within that timeline, let's say if you gave 10 days, within those 10 business days, if you have a repair addendum, it has to be within that timeline. And that is something, time is of the essence. If the seller says, oh, well, you're 1 day out of your timeline, and the buyer said, or the sellers are out of town, they can't sign, you need to get a signed addendum ASAP. So even if you're coming up against that timeline, it's important to add an addendum to extend that inspection period timeline. So then the appraisal comes in, and that is something else. Let's say you have an appraisal and it's undervalued. You need to let the other side know as soon as possible. You let that listing agent know, hey, we've got a hiccup, and then you have to negotiate that. But you find out when the appraisal is due. Usually it's about 3 weeks after you go under contract that you'll see the appraisal, sometimes 4 weeks, depending on who the lender is and how busy the appraisals are, where they're going. So then before you close, there is a final walkthrough. So you can take your buyers through, or just the agent alone, and the same with the listing agent. And what this is for risk mitigation. If there's something that's left behind, some buyers are like, oh, that's fine, we'll throw it away or we'll use it. Other times they lose their mind. So always go in and find out if the buyer is satisfied, and if not, what the listing agent is suggesting can happen to get that done. Let's say you bought it knowing that the refrigerator isn't working, and you put into the contract seller to remove broken fridge. Then on the day of the walkthrough, you say, hey, Mr. Seller, you said that you would get this out, and we need to get that out. And you need to let that agent know as well, because it is part of the contract. So any questions on that one? So make sure you communicate your deadlines with your clients. Communication of contract to other parties, we've gone over that. Lender and buyer communication, communication of a list or lists of different title companies, inspectors, insurance agents. This is it right here. Scheduling and communicating inspectors and listing agent. You need to keep that listing agent in the loop of everything you're doing when you're working with the buyer. And when you have the listing, you keep in touch with the buyer's agent. How is that buyer doing? How's the, has appraisal been ordered? It's okay. You communicate that. And that's the best thing that you can do. I've learned that text message is the best. So this way no one can ever say you didn't tell me. I will text it and then call later and say, hey, did you get my text? If I don't get a response from that. So sending amendments or inspection reports to the other side, title and lending. So let's say you had to readjust the price due to appraisal. You've got to get that addendum signed and into the title company so they know. So here we go. When am I reminding the buyers to not make big purchases? Do it after close. When am I communicating when to set up utilities and how to do it? So a lot of title companies have a sheet that will give you the different companies for the utilities that they can reach out to set up their account. And even for the seller, sometimes the buyer can't open or start their account until the seller has said, hey, we have sold the house and we want to cut power off. We're closing on the 2nd, but we'll cut power on the 3rd. So this way, when the new owner comes in, they can say, I just purchased this property. We need power. We close today. So nothing's worse than after the fact and the power is off and the buyer can't get power turned on, and working with the power company to do things like that. Does that make sense with everybody? Okay. Then holidays. Yes. On a holiday, everything shuts down and it always adds a day to your closing. So if you thought you were going to close on the 3rd of July, if there's a hiccup and they say maybe we'll close on the 5th, make your addendum for the 8th, because sometimes things happen over a holiday or a holiday weekend. So even if you do close on the 5th, that's fine, but you've made one addendum to close on the 8th.
Hey, can't hear me? We have a couple people who got out of the other meeting I was talking about a little late, and they're waiting for you to let them in.
Oh, I am so sorry. Thank you for that.
They're watching it on mine, but they need to be let in.
Hi, guys. Sorry. I changed where I put the entries.
Yeah, now they're there.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm glad you asked.
So now, how do I negotiate the inspection report and when am I communicating this information? So when you get an inspection on the property, you can ask the inspector to do a walkthrough with you and your buyer. Sometimes the seller will be on property at that time and they may want to listen in. I prefer that it's just, my preference is just me and my client, so the inspector can point things out. Sometimes if the seller's on property, we will go out to the inspector's truck and he'll take notes and share those notes before actually handing over the report. Now, if the seller has ordered a pest and dry rot, then the inspector can go to the seller and say, these are a couple of things that I found, when the buyers aren't around. And that way, to me, it just frees people up to not be so guarded, because the seller has hired the inspector. So or the buyer, depending on which inspection you're getting. So does that make sense to everybody? Okay, thanks. So when do you touch base with the lender, title company, or listing agent? From the get-go, usually it's the listing agent that will open escrow and they will copy you on it. So if you are the listing agent, when you send the order in to the title company, copy the other agent on there as well. So this way everybody knows that the order has been put in. And with the lender, the day you go under contract, you send that that agreement, the sales agreement, to the lender. So the lender knows that they now need to order up an appraisal. And keep the listing agent, communicate with the listing agent throughout the transaction, of course. Hey, we got this done, we got that done. The inspector's going to be there on this day. Appraisal is ordered, and I'll let you know when we hear back from when the appraiser is going to go out. Go ahead.
Okay, just to recap. So as a listing agent, I assign the title and the escrow get started through them as the listing agent. And
As
then
the listing agent, you will, what title company does your office usually use?
well, Tycor is one that I'm using
Okay,
right now.
so with Tycor, you would just send your email to whoever you're using at Tycor and copy the other agent on there. And with a lender, you can even copy the lender on there as well.
And
So this way,
that lender information will be in the agreement from the buyer's agent.
you will add the pre-approval letter to your contract to send it in.
Great.
So we're all good in the hood here? Okay, we've pretty much covered a lot of this already. But when you're making up your lists, figure out if it's an active communication or a document. To whom and from whom is the document going? What is the best pathway for communicating, sending the documents, responsible parties? With DocuSign, it's so nice and easy to use because all of your files are right there. But sometimes, even with your buyers, you have to, maybe they don't do DocuSign and they don't want to do anything electronic. So you go to them or they come to your office and then you can sign documents. Then you scan them and put them through. So when you're, and also remember with your documents, you have to get them into your compliance folder. I do believe anything signed that's fully executed within 3 days. So what is the plan for follow-up after a document has been sent to the responsible party? Sarah, what would you do once you send a document out to, let's say you've got the buyer to the listing agent?
Okay, so I've sent off, are we talking about the?
Let's say you have an addendum. Let's say you have an addendum to send out.
So then I contact the buyer's agent, let them know that I'm sending this, then I would send it out to the buyer's agent because they'll deliver it to the buyer, right?
Correct.
And then I send that into my command for my PVTC as well.
Let's say the addendum is to extend the closing date. So then you would also you would communicate that to the lender, but you would send the fully executed addendum to the title company.
Okay.
So the name of the game, just to really simplify it, is communicate everything with all parties involved if it deals with timelines. Make sure everybody knows. And that's, it really, it helps your buyers, it helps the sellers, it helps the title company and the lender, and it will make your transaction smoother. And it really, it helps to mitigate any risk because that's been communicated. Anything that's an agreement, you want to have it written. And then you just follow up with, texting and calling or emails. Any questions? Catch up on my notes. Sorry, guys. So everyone's familiar with this timeline? You're good with that? Even the folks that came in a little bit later? Okay.
Would you mind
so
going
now
to
we're
that
gonna-
slide just for a quick second, actually? I'm just going
Oh,
to take a
go back?
screenshot. Yeah, just for 1 second. Perfect. Thank you.
You're welcome. So now we're going to move on to the seller side. And in a seller transaction, there are also the same list of people that you'll be involved with. And so let's look at the seller list and figure out where in the transaction they participate. Anybody want to shout out you've got the seller. How are you going to advise them on the timeline once they go under contract?
So we've accepted an offer
Right, you're under
and,
contract.
and we're under contract, so the offer should have a close date in the offer. And so then I'm gonna be up to date on, to let them know about inspection dates, any repair addendum requests, any responses to those repair addendum or requests, and what that completion will look like. Any other testing like radon or any of those, they have to be aware that their house is going to be taken over.
That's it.
And then just keep them informed on closing and making sure that their title is clear.
Yes, the title. Sometimes you will get red flags on the title. And anytime that you get a title report, and if you're not understanding it, you call that escrow agent and say, hey, I need help understanding this. What do we need to do? And is this something that gets taken care of at closing and, goes away at closing? Or is it something I need to be aware of? Got that?
There's someone in the waiting room again, if you don't mind.
Oh, okay, sorry. Some days I am on top of things. Other days, well, actually, I just really sync with PowerPoint, and I'm not gonna lie. But I'm good at selling houses. Yay! So any questions in regard to the seller transaction? Also, what you need to know with the seller is where are they moving to? Hopefully, if they're buying across town, you're their agent. But to also get things arranged, what are they ready to move out? The minute they go under contract, start getting the house boxed up, make your arrangements for movers, make sure that they're going to be clear moving into the house or wherever they're moving to.
Yeah, a lot of people request to have cleaners as well. So you have to make sure that there's enough overlap to have
Correct.
the cleaner.
Yeah, a good house cleaner is great. And for some of my sellers, I turn them on to somebody that's local that will mow the lawns, trim up the trees, take away any debris, anything like that. In addition to, you know, because you're showing the home, you want it to be at its finest for photos. That's another one, sorry. So you have a photographer. If some agents take, to me, it depends on what the property is. If I think I can do a good job with my photos, but if I'm really wanting to showcase a large property, do the drone photos, that's when I call in a photographer. So, and you want to make sure the house looks its best. So, let's go over this list. What's the first thing my seller needs?
Are you talking about before we go under, we have an under contract or after?
Well, we are getting to the closing table.
Right.
Had in previous classes, did they go over how to prep your seller prior to going under contract? You know, how you get your seller and how you deal with them? Not deal with them, but to
Assist them
work
in the
with them
process.
to, okay.
Yeah.
So for this instant, you're under contract. So now you need to let the seller know what your timelines are and how to execute those so you can stay on time with tasks. And at the beginning with your contract, it's the same thing with the buyers, all the same timelines, the inspections, title report, inspections, appraiser, if there is one, your closing date, and be aware if the buyer's agent is asking for repairs, that also has a timeline on there. So that you need to communicate with your seller during that time of how the updates are going and relay that over to the buyer's agent.
Yeah, and making sure they understand the wire instructions for closing too.
It's yeah. And that I usually turn over to title because they're sensitive documents. I don't have privilege to those. That's strictly between the buyer, the seller, and the title company, you know. But good. So I'm a solo broker. Or is everyone I'm speaking with, are they in a team of sorts or solo?
Solo.
Okay. So always be proactive. And if you haven't heard from the buyer's agent in several days, just reach out. Hey, are we on track? You know, or I need this signed, or always check your file just when you think you have everything fully executed and everything. Every once in a while you'll find something and go, oh, poo. So, you know, just work your file and everything is written out in your contract. Then you make your task list. That's Command is a great system for that. Put your tasks in there and it really helps you out. So again, with the seller timeline, you have the earnest money, the inspector schedule, inspections, send an inspection response if there's anything being asked for, when the appraisal is due, and let your client know, the seller, that some buyers will be doing a final walkthrough, and if the buyers are out of area, it could just be their agent. Make sure in your contract, if it reads XYZ to be removed or ABC to remain, make sure those specifics are still there on property or have been removed. So, any questions on that? So we've mapped out the timeline with who all is involved. Think about all the points of communication that need to happen to meet all of your deadlines. So we'll also look at documents that need to be created, signed, and exchanged. Do your best to track them in your correct chronological order. You can always come back to this and move things around. So make sure all parties know their deadlines, and you can even just, even for the other side, you can't manage somebody else's transaction, but you can just send your weekly, hey, this is where my seller's at. Their, movers have been ordered, blah, blah, blah. Communicate that with the other side. Also, if you need to confirm that the movers are on their way or any of that, you can ask your clients, the seller, hey, do you mind if I call the moving company to make sure we're on track? Same with the cleaners. Any work that's been done. If you have a contractor that needs to come in, or let's say you have one breaker that is double lugged, so you need to order an electrician to come out and change the breaker so it's not double lugged. So make sure that you stay on top of that, because you can't close until that gets done. And everything, it's all of these gears coming together at the same time, and it rests on your shoulders to do your very best to get all those gears to line up properly and not grind. Does that make sense? And of course, like I said earlier, send your contract to the title company, copy everybody on it, schedule and communicate the inspectors with the buyer's agent. So we've gone over that. It's pretty much the same as when you have a buyer. There's a couple of little things that are just a little bit different. Some of it, you're waiting for the buyer to bring a repair addendum if needed, and you're also waiting on that appraisal and the outcome of that appraisal. And again, sending amendments or inspection reports to the other side, title, and lending. Inspection reports, they belong to the buyer or the seller, depending on who purchased. Now, the seller, let's say, Lord forbid, your transaction terminates, the seller has a right to ask for the report. Now, if on the repair addendum, they're asking for 5 items to be repaired, the seller has the right to ask for the whole report or only the pages where those 5 items are on. And that's something you discuss with your seller, because if you get the entire report, now they have knowledge of everything that's been noticed in the house. Some people want it, they keep it in file, but all that you need are and sometimes they don't even ask for the pages, but I always ask for the pages to go with the repair addendum. And then this way, if I have questions, I can call the inspector and say, what is this about? So, any questions on that? Everyone's so quiet. So again, we're going to go through, is this an act of communication or a document? To whom and from whom is the document going? What is the best pathway for communicating, sending the document to the responsible party? Find out what your clients like. If they want emails, texts, phone calls, or if they have problems with DocuSign. What is the plan to follow up after a document has been sent to the responsible party? Just communicate constantly. Are there templates for this that I can use or create to save effort and streamline communication across transactions? Many platforms, they are automated. You just set your template and then you can go for there. So go ahead, feel free to use this, and you can, this is just a basic diagram. If you need to, take another look at this of how you want to move forward whenever you're doing your transaction. So this is the simple one. You go under contract on the 2nd of September and you're closing on the 2nd of October. These are the milestones that you're hitting throughout the transaction. Sometimes there's a few more here and there. And from the listing side, you also need to go into your MLS, end your transaction. And this is the same as here. Go through, get your inspection. Send your response. Now, if you have a repair addendum that comes in, you discuss that with your client on what they want to do. I would strongly recommend your principal broker, or if you have a coach, of how to go about negotiating repair addendums. That's a whole other category, but just because it's on the addendum doesn't mean you have to agree to it. You have to ask yourself, is this something that's material that anyone would want, or is it just cosmetic, So that's something outside of the scope of this class, but just be aware of that. And then again, with the appraiser, it's usually on the listing side that you make the house available for the appraiser. And if there is a appraisal response, guess what? We go back to negotiating. So, always lean into your principal broker or your team leader or your coach to help you navigate through that.
So I have a question over here.
Yes.
So we are starting in this timeline, we are starting by 2nd of September, inspector list to buyer, and then it's ending by 9/13. So it is usually the 10 days of inspection contingency. Are we talking about that?
Yes.
And are those only business days or
Those are
Saturday?
business days. And you get to, you can put, there's a little part in the contract where you can either leave it blank and it automates to 10 business days. So let's say you go under contract on the 2nd, and that's a Monday. The day countdown starts on the 3rd. So it'd be the business days from the 3rd to the 13th. That make sense? And of course, when you're using your command system, it's a great way to automate a lot of your timelines, your tasks. Once you get that filled out, it will also help you with your marketing and keeping in touch. Never disappoints. Okay, now is the time that if you guys have any aha moments, you can let me know. Anything that you've learned here that so far in the class that you didn't know before?
I think the big thing is just the reminder of communication. Set those command reminders for your timelines and just keep communicating with people.
Yes, 100%. Communicate, communicate, communicate. And to know what you can and cannot communicate to the other side. Just always know one thing. It doesn't matter if it's the listing agent or you're the buyer's agent, that is your client. So you do your job, even whenever it's gut punch news that you have to deliver, you do it. You don't have to share that with the other side. You just have to share contract, timelines, things like that. So it simplifies things. So best practices and risk avoidance. as with the game of life, we all need to exercise best practices. So you've worked really hard to get to this point in a transaction. You should avoid risk by acting and anticipating any potential issues that could arise. Some best practices to avoid risk may include communicate clearly and often, which Sarah had that. Communicate with everyone involved in the step of the transaction. Copy assistants who are involved along the main party. Sometimes you'll be working with an agent and they might be a solo broker, but they have an assistant helping them or a TC. You can always copy them on your correspondence. Set expectations up front. Do you need the inspection response the next day? Be sure you've communicated that when you schedule. I like to let my, if I have an inspection scheduled, I like to get them in as soon as possible, or let them know, hey, this is my timeline. You know, are we going to be able to make it? Stay professional, even if others don't. A person yelling at you does not force you to yell. The best way to control the situation is to lower your voice. Especially right now, shifting market, sometimes you will have a client that is just simply frustrated and it's going to come at you like that big blasting speaker. And the best thing that you can do is just keep, you know, stay quiet and listen. You don't have to say a word. If they're going on for 10 minutes, complain, frustration, let them get it out. And while they're doing this, think of ways to bring the energy down, to you know, worst thing, calm down. Just kidding. But to bring their energy level down and look for resolution. And you can say things like, I've not experienced that, but I understand. Well, what can I do? What are you wanting me to do to rectify this? You know, is it something that you can do to rectify this? Some things you can, many things you can't. The majority of the time, they're just frustrated. It's buying and selling a house is very stressful. Anybody that's gone through it, even if you've been a realtor for however long, it can be stressful because there are all these parts and points. And so many people, they just want it to be over. And so be prepared for that. And no matter what, don't argue with your clients, but if they do start to get out of line, you can always say something like, oh, wait, can I call you back in a few minutes? Or can I call you back in the morning? I've got XYZ, or I'm on my way out of town. Something to give them that time to really think it over. Or if nothing else, just buy yourself 2 hours of time so you can take that situation, break it down, look for resolutions, and then give them a call back. Much of the time, that individual on the other side will have a moment to catch their breath. They feel better because they've expressed it, and then you can go back. And it's sometimes you will work as hard as you've ever worked and there's no appreciation, and that's okay. Every individual you work with, every client you have is going to have their own set of life. They have their own life. They're doing their own thing. Your job is to help facilitate the close in the nicest way possible. And the majority of transactions, people are happy, they love it, everything's done. Every once in a while, you get challenged. Just remember to find out how you can help and allow them to express it without pushing back, without being argumentative. Any questions on that? The biggest thing that I can say is, you know, timeliness, communication, professionalism, always your greatest tools. And that with that, you'll succeed in this business, any business, a big part of professionalism is operating as a fiduciary for your client. And especially in our office here, you know, we always get down, boil it down. What is my responsibility to my client? My job is to represent my client. And if that's what I need to do, that's what I'll do within legal means. Every now and again, people will ask you, especially if you're on doing both sides, well, if I have a listing, someone calls me and they want me to represent them. I ask the seller if that's okay. Even if I already have it in my disclosure, I just wanted, before I move forward, otherwise I'll turn it over to somebody in the office for a referral. And you have to ask yourself, can I be fair on both parts? But they'll say, well, how low will the seller go? I can't tell you that. You know, like I'm not going to tell the seller how high you can go. So you find that, and always remember who you represent and that you are professional, and no matter how you act or portray yourself, that's your business, that's your brand. So be aware of that as well. So, risk avoidance. Together, we will think through and write down strategies you can use to help keep a deal together as you answer the questions in your participant guide. Do you guys have your participant guides? Are you using them? Right on. So refer to your timelines to help answer the questions. So communicate clearly often with everyone involved in the step of the transaction. Set your expectations up front. Maintain your professionalism throughout. So let's see. How would you deal with a late deposit? So let's say you open on a Monday, escrow opens on Tuesday, and your buyer just totally forgets to put in the earnest money. How do you communicate that? And you can all unmute yourselves if you'd like. How would you communicate that to your buyer? Like, we could lose our contract if you don't get that in, because that would be a violation of that contract. You're muted, Sarah.
It's because I'm overwhelmed that anyone would forget they're buying a house.
Yeah,
People, miscommunications happen. I have some buyers that you'll tell them and they have every intention, but let's say they just got a new job and it requires training. So not only did they just go under contract, they now have 8 hours of training on top of all the other things going on. And sometimes they think they've already sent it when really it's still in the console of the car. So it happens. Just had one.
keep on sending them the reminders. That's happened in my last closing. They were forgetting the things, and I was like, after every 8 hours, I was checking if that was done or not, and I was sending them messages, text, like, guys, I'm here to help you if you are stuck somewhere. Please let me know the status of this. So yes, it becomes overwhelmed for the buyers, but it is our job to do.
Yeah. And you can always let them know, hey, listen, if the seller gets a better offer, they can terminate our contract over 1 day of being late on an earnest money. So
Yeah. And are we allowed to contact the title company and confirm when it goes through?
absolutely. Most title companies, when the earnest money comes in, they will shoot you an email, the copy of the transaction, of the acceptance. Now, some agencies, they have a client trust account. So what they'll do is they'll send you a picture of the earnest money check. So I will use that to put into my compliance folder, although when the other side, when that agency puts that check into title company, usually they wait about a week before closing, before they put it in. Then then the title company will send me a receipt. But if I'm getting a week, 2 weeks out, and I still don't see that coming in from the title company, I'm gonna say, knock, knock, have they sent you the earnest money? They will inevitably tell me no, because I haven't received a receipt. Then I will go over to the buyer's agent and say, hey, look, I need that. You know, you guys need to put it in. So, okay. So, where's the risk of things falling apart after a home inspection? Bueller, anyone? You can't come to an agreement on repairs. So you have to find, and it goes back to, if this is something that any buyer would want to have repaired, you might want to advise your seller to do it. If you're in a time crunch or you can't get a contractor, maybe you could, to do the work in time of closing, you could have a contractor give you an estimate of the amount of work to be done, and you can respond to a buyer's repair addendum with, in lieu of repairs, seller will reduce sales price by X amount of dollars. You do your best to keep it together. Occasionally you'll find somebody that comes in that feels like every little thing on a inspection report needs to be repaired. And it's no. And I've seen deals fall apart because one agent thought that it was justified when the other side would be like, no, that you've got a list of 30 things and only 5 of them are material things that anybody would want to have done. So you find a way to negotiate, and you do your best to not let that contract die on your table. And so every once in a while, you're going to have to say, you know what, I just have to cut and run. So if you're a listing agent, until you get through inspections, I would still take up backup offers as much as possible. Now, the odds of backup offers going into first place are slim, but if I'm a buyer's agent and somebody really wants that house, I'm going to say, I can write a backup offer for you and put that in. There's no guarantee that you'll get it. And we can still look at other houses in the meantime. And then if you find something else that you like just as much or more, then we can retract that backup offer. Never hurts to try. Not to mention, if you haven't written your buyer yet, then this way, once you write a contract, your buyer, you've already got everything set up in your system if you automate things. So let's say you put in that backup offer, they find something else 2 weeks later. All you have to do is change a couple of things in that contract and get it going on. And it's, it goes a lot quicker that way. Just helpful hints on how to move forward. And okay, what about the appraisal during
Yeah, I was gonna say loans. A lot
Yeah.
of people think they're gonna get a loan and they get a pre-approval, but they're not pre-qualified, or when it comes down to the actual interest rate, or they end
or
up,
we've had people
pulling.
where they haven't locked in their rate. Then once they go under contract and they're in contract for 2 weeks, rate adjustment, now they can't afford it. So that's another thing. That's great, Sarah, to let your client know you've got the buyer, they're going under contract. Ask that lender, is their rate locked? Are we good? And on that pre-approval letter, many times they'll have the conditions that are left on the pre-approval. Much of it is maybe there's 1 or 2 documents they need and the appraisal. So always read through that pre-approval letter if you have the listing and you're showing the offer to your seller. Let them know this is their pre-approval. This is what they're pre-approved for. And they've got many conditions taken care of, but these are 3 conditions they still have to meet before we can close. Some sellers aren't going to understand that, but say this is the process of how loans work, and help them to understand that if it's only a couple of things that they need to meet to get the loan, it gets taken care of through escrow. Okay, what are the best practices for keeping a deal alive? One would be pricing the home reasonably in your listing or on your offer. Sometimes when you're listing, some sellers still think the market's going high, and the market right now is stable. You know, it's not gaining in value, but it really hasn't lost value. But you have buyers that 2 years ago could have afforded that home, but now with the interest rates being what they are, that 7%, they can't do that. So maybe here's the price of the house and it's just a little below that. What you would do is find a way, if the lender has a program, sometimes you can tell your seller, hey, people may need help with closing costs. Are you willing to do that? And with your buyer, you can say, hey, you can only come, you know, you need X amount of dollars for your closing costs. Perhaps the seller will be willing to help you out on that. I have one listing and my seller is motivated. They're offering $10,000 in closing costs or to help the buyer buy the rate down. It's a unique property, so they know it's going to be on the market for a while, but we're looking to close that gap. So, maintaining a good relationship with your co-broker to make renegotiation more likely to succeed. Best thing I can tell you guys is answer your phone. And when something comes up, try to get in touch with that other agent. If they're not answering their phone, when they usually answer their phone, then you know something's up. Send them an email and then followed up with a text. Hey, I called you. I hope everything's okay. What I had to say, I put it into an email form, so this way you can read what the document or whatever with an explanation. But again, it all falls back on communication and being as polite as possible. Some people do make it difficult, but just because they do doesn't mean you have to. You can still be polite to people without being a doormat. And some clients, when they get frustrated, they think you're a punching bag. Accurately setting your client's expectation about the process and the costs that are associated at the beginning. So when I go into a listing appointment, I let them know how the market is, where interest rates are at, lean in on the TMO reports because data is everything. Sometimes we have sellers, they want to be up here when every piece of data that you pull, everything that's closed in that neighborhood over the last 6 to 12 months says they're down lower. So that's something that you might want to say in the very beginning. I would love for you to get this amount for the home, but this is where the market's at. But what I can do, if you want, I will, and I'll have them sign my CMA because I always put a CMA together. I will have seller wants to list at such and such price. My suggested list price is XYZ, and I have them initial it or sign it and date it. So if they ever come back and say, how come my house isn't selling? I can say, because I told you we should be here and you're there. Or I will say, we'll try that for 3 weeks. If we're not getting any action, then we're going to do a price drop. Does that help? Okay, communicating quickly and effectively about any issues that pop up. Sometimes it's great to jump on things, but take a moment, process it, think about what the issue is, and then form the statement that you want to present to the other side. If you're the seller, let's say you're the seller and you're buying a house that's to close simultaneously as yours, but all of a sudden the house that you're buying, there was a hiccup with their buyer, so now they're going to be closing 3 days late. So you try to find the best part about this because you're a week away from closing and stuff happens. Then you go to your the other agent and you formulate, hey, how is your buyer doing on this? Blah, blah, blah. I've got something to tell you. The house that my seller is moving to, we can still close on time, but they're going to need 3 days after close in home because they have no place to go. Can you present that to your buyer and see if that's acceptable? Or, you know, do you have any options of how we can make this work? So again, know that other agent and know how much you can communicate with them in regard to sensitive things such as timelines. So I think that we've hammered it in. Don't be afraid to pick up the phone. So where's the deal at risk of falling apart?
It seems like at every step.
Yeah, any given day. Yay! So that's why you communicate. And if you make it a point to, like on Mondays and Thursdays, communicate with your clients of what's going on. So that way in everyone's busy life, they can say, oh, okay, I haven't, nothing's worse than whenever you don't talk to your client for 3 weeks because you could lose them. So just even if you're like, hey, how's it going? If you've got the seller, can I bring by any boxes or tape for you? Or with your buyers, hey, is everything going along okay? You've kept your job, you haven't quit, right? Things like that. Any questions on that? We have said it before and we will probably repeat it. No deal is worth your reputation. Integrity is the I in the WI4C2TES. Does everybody know what that is? It's been ground into you? But it's great. And you know what's fun is as you go along in your career and you do transactions with other agents, even agents that are, have been at it for a decade plus. The neat thing with Keller Williams is that you can always find education here, and there's always someone in the office that's helpful and can help you become the agent that you want to be, and always moving with the market. And when you have that level of knowledge and professionalism, it really helps the transactions, especially whenever there's hiccups that need to be ironed out so you can get to the close. Can anyone give me an example of when a transaction going to close is not in the best interest of your clients? So let's say you've got a buyer. They love the house, but you're looking at it and you're like, I know this person, I know their situation, they're busy. Let's just say it's single mom with 2 kids. and she wants to buy this house, but you know that from the inspection report, she's going to need a new roof in 5 years. She, you know, there's some electrical that needs to be updated. The seller isn't willing to do it. When there's something like that, it's okay to let your agent know, express that, or not your agent, your client, express that to your client. You know, it's totally up to you because, you know, it's your house, it's your money. However, I noticed that with these things, have you thought about the costs that are going to happen, or this and that, and really think it over. And if you want to terminate this transaction, you know, think it over tonight, but we may need to terminate it tomorrow because there's just so much work we can't do, because that's integrity. And never be afraid to walk away, because you're not going to lose your client. You know, but it's your job to, people get excited when they think they're going in, or they think that they can handle any type of repairs. You've got to let them make up their mind, but you present it.
Yeah, we just put an offer on a home a couple months ago, and after the inspection, the inspector's like, run away, because the foundation was sliding. It was built in sand in Utah, and it was literally like the back door wouldn't close anymore. The steps had pulled away from, I mean, the pictures they put on the internet were beautiful, but we really liked it. It was by a golf course. It looked really nice, but they had not built it with a solid foundation. So we had to pull.
Yeah. And sometimes if you see on the MLS something that's gone under contract a couple of times and popped out, ask them, what is it? Now, if you have a home that's been on the market for a week and someone says, do you have any inspection reports? No, because the seller's perfectly happy with the home. If you want to put an offer in and have an inspection done, then you can. But yeah, people appreciate it because you're advocating for your client. That's why we get paid. We're looking out for their best interest, because the more homes we go in, the more we're going to be able to see. And when I show my buyers, even if I have the seller, if it's something that anyone can see, I want them to know, did you see the chipping paint on the handrail? Did you notice that there's one shingle missing on the roof? It was a fluke thing, XYZ. But I want that buyer to know what's going on. And then sometimes when I do video showings, because they're somewhere else in the country, I will let them know what I smell, what I hear, because they're not really getting that through the phone. So you want to prepare them as much as possible. And this goes back to risk mitigation. If they know what's going on, then they will feel comfortable about moving forward. So any ahas? Like the band? Hey, do you know what AHA is for? Agents helping agents. Yay! So next, we'll talk about how you're going to turn a transaction into a client relationship that brings more business referrals and repeat business. We will also discuss how you can lead generate for more business by leveraging your client reviews. We've already covered that all business is new, repeat, or referral businesses. Clients that feel like their experience with you was effortless and special are more likely to come back to you the next time they need to buy or sell a house. They're also more likely to refer others to you, write reviews, which will help generate new leads. Let's talk about how you can turn today's transaction into tomorrow's business. So, and it's not just the client, it's all the people you're dealing with throughout that transaction. So the command follow-up programs and the touch campaigns you leverage after a transaction will help you stay in close emotional proximity with your clients. So they think about you when they are ready to buy or sell again, or if they know somebody down the street that I just um, had a listing, and when I went back to get additional photos, I was told, go down the street, she's expecting you. So tomorrow I go over and we sign another listing agreement, listing agreement just by a neighbor. So just always be cognizant. And I'm kind of, oh, maybe I don't have a filter. I just go to people and say, hey, do you know of anybody who's looking to buy or sell? Anybody at a listing, and we've signed and we're getting ready to put the sign in. Say, hey, do any of your neighbors, are they wanting to list their homes too? It's okay to do that. But what really, really makes people notice is the service that they receive. And when they're happy with the realtor, they like to let the world know. And you build everything in life is a relationship. So you get to dictate, how do I want that relationship? Do I want to be close, or do I just want to be at arm's length to wish you something good on each holiday? Or is it, I'm going to bump into you all the time when I'm at the grocery store, or, at my kids' soccer game, or, 4-H event, or whatever is going on in your community. So even when you go out to community events, always be aware of that. And go to events. If your client is saying, hey, we're having a big barbecue, would you like to show up? Yeah, even if you're just stopping in to drop off a cake or something. So the most important practice with referrals cannot be stated enough. Ask and offer value, but you've always got to ask. You've always got to let people know you're a realtor and ask how you can help. Some simple conversations to ask for referrals. They're also in your participant guide. My business relies on referrals. If you know anyone that is looking to buy or sell, I'd be so grateful if you could let me know. That's a nice statement, but if that doesn't feel like you, tailor it. Make it feel like you. Get deep into your soul and say, how do I promote myself? Shamelessly, but in a fun way where it reaches that person. And you have to throttle that. Always know your audience. Who is that person? Can they handle somebody with a large personality? Or do you have to, calm down and bring it down a little bit to say, hey, I really appreciate the opportunity to help you purchase this home. I'm so excited for you. And, do you know of anybody else that needs representation? You can also use, I would appreciate the opportunity to help your friends and family members buy or sell their homes. I intend to build a relationship of trust between us so that when you think of real estate, you think of me. If you wouldn't mind, please tag me on social media anytime one of your friends posts about needing a real estate agent. That's a really awesome one. I am going to offer you an amazing service for you to refer me to your friends and family. If you don't, I'm going to feel I did something wrong and would need to talk to you about how I can do it better. Look to fill your funnel with client referrals in the lead generation series for more. And, as with any store, any brick and mortar, any online web service, what's the one thing that everybody does? They ask for your business. And I like to let my clients know I work for you, without having a client, I don't have a business. So it is a relationship and we work together. And I like to let my clients know that. And, overall, it works pretty well. And I still, I still keep in touch with some of my very first transactions from a while ago. So in addition to asking for referrals, ask for reviews, being a strong fiduciary, the local expert of choice, and exhibiting unmatched customer service leads to great reviews. Reviews can be leveraged on places like social media and your agent site. Reviews do not only communicate what it is like to work with you, they can also generate new leads. As we've discussed before, the most important thing you can do to get reviews is to give value through your communication in the relationship. and to ask for the review. And it's okay. Hey, can you give me a review? I'm really trying to build my sphere. And you've worked with me, they haven't. I would like that business. Everybody, whether they're working for somebody else or not, depending on, doesn't matter what they're doing. It's all a business. And when you reach out to people in that perspective, saying, you know, I'm looking to build my business. Who doesn't? Who doesn't want to build their business, right? So you can approach it that way as well. But you find your own words. You really get into who you are, and you just practice that, and just go out there and ask. A transaction is not just the transfer of money and property or a commission check. Every transaction is a series of opportunities to be of service to your clients. When you give them excellent service and stay in close emotional proximity through follow-up and touch campaigns, they will reward you with repeat business referrals and great reviews. And referrals, can't beat it. They're a great way to build your business and keep your business. Any ahas so far? Bueller? No, just kidding. Okay, post-close
I was gonna say, you
follow-up.
just have to wait long enough for us to get the
Oh.
buttons pushed.
Actually, I don't mind if people keep themselves unmuted, because sometimes you have to stop me. Anyway, go ahead, Sarah.
Oh, I was just gonna say, I think a lot of it is that willingness to put yourself out there and just keep saying it over and over again, because it feels a little awkward, but it is all referral. So we've got to get our names out there.
One way or the other. And a hand-to-hand referral, sometimes I get calls from an agent out of area, and they basically got a lead off of Zillow, and they're putting this person on to me. So when I do get referrals similar to that, I will kind of vet them a little more, because this person doesn't know, they're just getting pushed over to the next available agent in that vicinity. So, but I always thank that agent, and I keep them in my contacts. So whether that deal closes or not, I know somebody that wants to give me referrals, wants to throw leads my way. Yeah, I'll give you a referral fee on that. So I reach out to them on a regular basis as well. You know, just follow up. We talk a lot. That's our job. We talk a lot. So yeah, after you close, just any way that is comfortable with you. I know Sarah or Maya put together a great touch campaign. Follow that. Find the things that work for you. If it's something that is on a list, but you look at it and go, oh, it's just, I don't feel genuine doing that, replace it with something that does make you feel genuine. So when you have that list, it is a suggestion. There's a lot of data that goes behind that, of saying, this is how long it takes. This is how soon someone will forget you. So I guess what I'm saying is, that's a great template, but it's okay to manipulate that to express your personality, because that's why people like to work with you. I know that my personality isn't for everyone. So sometimes if I don't think I can acclimate, then I will see if somebody wants a referral off of that. It's far and few between, but it happens. But just always understand your audience. You know, your clients are your audience. Figure out how they work, find a way to meet them, and, you know, carry on. Any questions? So staying the real estate expert of choice is all about staying in relationship with your client. You are going to stay in a relationship with a customized 36 touch plan for your new buyer or seller. A lot of these touches can and should be the same as your general 36 touch plan for your sphere. However, personalizing your plans adds more value for those you've closed business with. So like a home anniversary, things like that. Or this is the day we first looked at houses, whatever it takes, something that will capture their attention and know that it's sincere and unique. because you've given them a great buying or selling experience. These are the people who are most likely to offer you referrals or friends, family, neighbors, coworkers, etc. So be sure that your touch plan has you asking for referrals. First, let's talk about the buyers. Put yourself in the buyer's shoes for a minute. What would you find helpful in the first year of owning a new home and like to get from your agent? What would bring value to your life and ownership? A housewarming gift that showed they know me, any documents to help me with my taxes, referrals to contractors, introduction to dentists, stylists, mechanics, gyms, if new in the area, acknowledgement of my buying anniversary, care calls, equity updates, updates on neighborhood sales, notice of upcoming community events. So any questions or want me to repeat any of that? Just to let you know, when I have out of towners, if I can block off a day, because I'm in Klamath Falls, it doesn't take very long to show people the main things, but unless you've been here for a while, you may not know all the other little pockets. So when I have an out of town client, and if they don't mind, I will take an extra 2 or 3 hours out of my day, show them where the visitor center is, the main roadways, where the college is, where the hospital and most medical businesses are, where parks are, where you can go to get exercise, some trails. And if they are horse people or want farming, anything like that, then I'll take them out a little bit further so they know where arenas are or some of the local barrel racing events, anything like that. So that's in this area. Find out, and I love doing it because, you know, we get to see how things change. But that's one thing that I like to do. If it's something that you like to do and you hit it off with that client and they want to know more about that immediate vicinity, then do it. So how about in 6 to 7 years after they buy, how might your touches start being a bit different, and why? Why would people need to, let's say they bought a house 5 years ago. Now would be a perfect time to reach out and see if they need to upsize, downsize, if their work's doing well, things like that.
Yeah, they usually
So-
say it's the 5 to 7 range.
Yeah, it's sometimes even shorter now. It's crazy. Things focus more on the potential to move again since we now move on average every 8 years. The current value of their existing home, current interest rates, knowing their dreams from your FORD conversations, such as they intend to retire to the mountains. That's why if you just touch in once in a while and sincerely ask, how are things going? Last bold class I took, there was an exercise and we had 15 minutes to text as many people as we can. People that I knew had moved out of the area, no intention of moving back, but I had memories of things that they liked, etc., where they went to, and just texting as many people as I could all day long. I kept getting text messages back of, hey, how have you been? This is what's going on, or I got the job promotion, or, you know, can you believe my daughter's graduating this year? So it's amazing what a simple text can do. Just to reach out and say, hey, how's everything? That's all I did, is put, how's everything going? Often sellers or buyers also, so their plans will look the same as those we just discussed. Let's say a seller moves away from your area. Do you just take them off your touch plan? No. What can you still stay in contact with them about? General acknowledgement of birthdays and holidays, any tax docs that they might need, a gift of something they liked from where they used to live, like particular type of coffee or ornaments, special interests, updates on neighborhood area changes or celebrations if they were longtime residents. You know, if you've moved away from home 1,000 miles away, sometimes it's nice just to get news of what's going on, if, you know, a new subdivision going in or whatever. Why do you stay in touch with a seller who has moved away? Referrals. They likely still know people in your area and they can refer them to you. As their trusted advisor, they can seek you out for advice on a local agent for themselves and those they know in their new location, and you will earn a referral fee. So it's just, again, think of it as a tree. And every transaction is another limb, and all those leaves can actually be referrals. In addition to staying in contact with your client and building those referrals, you should ensure you're continuing a positive relationship with your co-agent. What are the benefits of continuing a relationship with a co-agent? Getting info early about new listings in your neighborhood you do business with, learning from a more experienced agent, getting referrals. Established agents especially may only work in a particular neighborhood or price point and need to give out referrals that don't fit their brand or preferred market. Building your downline. We covered profit share in an earlier session. Every agent that comes over to KW and indicates that that you were the reason goes into your profit share downline. That means that for every transaction where their market center makes money from them doing business, you make money from their business. So if you work with an agent at another brokerage that you enjoyed working with and you think they could benefit from KW, give their information to your team leader and follow up with them in a professional and friendly manner yourself. You can build up a group of great agents around you and build your passive income through profit share. And there's a whole lot more on profit share and how to bring people over. A great way to do it is in your command. You can fill out the agent that you work with, and if you think they would be a viable candidate to come over to Keller Williams. And again, you do a touch system on them as well. You can put them into your command system, any agent. And if you see they do a closing, send them an email or a text. Hey, congratulations. That was a great property. I love showing it. Or I love going to your open house or broker's open. And you just keep that there and, you know, just let them know. I think that you could benefit by being a Keller agent. Nobody can beat the program that Keller Williams has. And there's nothing you can do to convince me otherwise. Sorry, I am biased. Slides going on here. So build your business and your downline with co-agent relationships. Any ahas about how you can build out your business through referrals or through other agents? Okay, recap and ahas. Each day in Ignite, you grow in how you think, feel, act, and implement what you've learned. From learning and ahas, you move forward to achieving your big life. And that's what we're here for, right? To fulfill our big goals. How do you feel about our objectives now that we're done? We set out to develop transaction timelines, apply best practices to avoid risk, identify ways to follow up after closing to build your business. When you leave today, what action do you think you should take? Will you send a thank you card to an agent you recently worked with? Create a more detailed timeline for your current transaction? Input checklists into your opportunities? How's the rest of your afternoon or this week gonna flesh out? Sarah, do you have anything under contract?
No.
Nope. Isha? How do you think you're going
Sorry,
to
it
move
wasn't
forward?
on.
Oh, that's all right. You're good.
Go
You're
ahead.
good.
Yeah.
Isha, how do you
Yes.
think that you're going to proceed? Any
Yeah.
ahas, anything from today that you can actually implement and put to work today?
Yeah, so I took some screenshots of the timelines that you gave that after inspection, this much period would be required. And I'm going to take prints and put it in my office so that I don't forget how many days we have for one process between the other process. So yes, I have taken the screenshots and I will take the pictures of those.
Good. Now, in regard to building your business, do you guys go to open houses?
Yes, I do.
That is a great way to go and meet other agents and also know your market. It's just brokers opens, open houses. Even if it's a for sale by owner, you can go in and go, oh, I'm just getting to know the neighborhood. I'm a realtor with Keller Williams. Do you have any questions for me? And you start that conversation. Most FISBOs are going to be like, eek, but say, hey, I'm not here to sell you. I'm a realtor. Do you have questions? That's all. And plus, I might have a buyer that wants to come in. Do you pay, are you willing to pay a buyer's agent if I bring you a buyer? So, there's all those little ways that you can expand. Georgia, how about you? What's anything good that came out of this today that sticks with you?
So yeah, kind of like Isha was saying, just that, sorry, my dog is chewing on a toy right next to me, so that's what you hear in the background.
Show us your
But
dog.
what do you say?
Show us your dog.
Oh, let's see. I don't know if it'll focus. Let me get my background blurred. Yes.
Aw, nice,
Like, is it
nice.
playtime yet?
Yeah, he's just my little work buddy.
That's it.
Yeah, but just really like the timelines, and once I get somebody under contract down the road, it'll be nice to have those. And then maybe like reaching out to some like inspectors and stuff like that, just so that I have some in my back pocket. Again, eventually down the road, that'll be super helpful.
And all of those vendors are a way for you to build referrals. They get used to you, and if you make them doing their job easier, they're going to make your job easier. And so you create that relationship. You may or may not get any business off of it, but they will remember you. And when people remember you, it's almost a given that business is going to find you. What about you, Santosh?
He stepped out for a minute.
Okay.
Stepped out.
I've been working on trying to put together all my all my lists, all my contracts, all my like to-do lists, and today I'm looking at trying to do an announcement letter to people that I live near. So I'm gathering people's names and phone numbers of the area. So
Do you guys ever visit like farmer markets or anything like that?
yeah, we have one in my area.
So sometimes get a name badge. Okay, I'm obnoxious in case you guys haven't figured that out, but I am a whole lot of fun. But I have this huge, obnoxious, blingy badge that I wear. You can't miss it. And I don't even have to say I'm a realtor, but people will ask me, oh, how's the market? Best conversation there is. And okay, another shameless thing. I have taken one of my signs and walked through Home Depot acting like I didn't know where the H signs are. So everybody saw my sign that I'm a realtor looking for conversations and standing in line to buy my H frame. They're like, oh, you're a realtor. How are things going? And it's like, oh, well, this is what's happening in the market. So pull on your data. Keller Williams gives you so many tools. The TMO reports, learn them, use them. They are fantastic because on any given day, they can say, how is the market? And you can go blah, 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 and impress them because the majority of agents you go up to, out of 100 agents, maybe 20 pay attention to what's going on in marketplaces and, check your dailies. see what's selling, what's sitting on the market. So use all of that stuff for your advantage, and the more people that you expose yourself to, the more likely you are to build out your business. So let's see, did you write in your participant guide how you've grown in each area or anything like that so far this week? I don't have to see anything. Just wanting to take the time to reflect on what you've learned and how important it is in building your confidence and celebrating your growth. We'll do throughout the Ignite to do this activity after each learning session so you can keep track of your learning journey. Now we move to important daily success system time where we work in our business together while supporting one another. So do you guys have any, because we're almost close to 3. Do you have any questions about real estate that perhaps I could answer for you about building your business and processes and things like that?
What's the website that we get the like hats and
Say that again?
what's the website where we get the name badges and hats or things like that?
Oh, well, this one, I like to sparkle. So this one is blingNameBadges.net. And it's a very lightweight. I don't know if I could actually. Okay, that should be it right there. And I haven't ordered in a while, so hopefully they're still in business. But then the KW store, you can get some more swag, get your caps, t-shirts. Anytime you volunteer, if you get a Keller Williams branded t-shirt, I wear mine out all the time. If let's say I'm going to the fairgrounds because there's an event and it's casual attire, well, I'm always in jeans anyway, but I go from a blingy t-shirt to a KW t-shirt and I'm good with that. Anytime that you can let people know that you're a realtor without saying you're a realtor, even better, because when you're standing in line someplace or in a busy area, people are going to ask you about real estate. I mean, look at all the different t-shirts Gary Keller has worn when he makes speeches. You know, buy dirt, real estate, it's a contact sport, or it's a contact thing. Have people ask you questions. That's the best way to engage. Any other questions?
When
So
you
with
were
time-
starting out, oh, sorry.
No, you go, Georgia.
I was just gonna say, like, when you were starting out, like, what was some advice that you got that really helped, or like that you would give to a new agent now?
It's your business. You are a business owner. If you're a solo broker, it's your business. Even if you're part of a team, your business is part of that team. I worked at a different brokerage. I came over to Keller Williams over 5 years ago. And the difference between that brokerage, which I knew for years and years, what a difference in mentality. So the thing with Keller Williams is it's your business. These are the rules. This is a business model. Follow the model and you'll succeed. So that's the best way I could put it. You need to look at it, not that you work for a team, not that you work for a principal broker. You work for you. And you get to deem how you're going to work. So make it your own. I mean, just bathe in it. Keep it with you always. Always know that you're a realtor. And even if you're going, I'm originally from Las Vegas, so when I go home to see family, They want to know what's, basic real estate questions. And I can answer things whenever it's the broad swath coast to coast. I can tell them everything about, the Klamath Falls area, Southern Oregon, and some of the neighboring counties. But it's all basically, I can't say it's the same because it's individual, but most of the questions are going to be the same. How's the market? Well, it depends on the interest rate. So anyway, best thing that I can say is it's your business. Soak up as much knowledge as you can and convert that knowledge into data that you can share with your clients. Because you can work with an agent for 10. Okay, I put in an offer. This agent is a veteran. I mean, decades in the business. And she had questions on the contract of how to fill it out. Nice gal. We talk about dirt and horses all the time, but anytime there's a contract change, and if I were at the last brokerage I was at, I don't know if I would have paid attention to contract changes or things like that. Where with Keller Williams, you do get that. So lean into it, soak it up as much as you can. And if you do find yourself that you're in the weeds or you're just having, okay, I'm trying to find a professional word for crap. But no, if you're having like a bad time, go to your principal broker, go to your market leader and say, hey, I hit a wall. I'm down and out. Inspire me, and they'll walk you through it. And I'm on Facebook, Laura Knight, Knight. You guys are more than welcome to friend me if you have questions about things. I can't answer principal broker questions, but simple ways on how to get you through it, or if you're having a difficult transaction, hit me up. If I can give you the answer, I will, or at least point you in the right direction. Because it's a competitive market out there, but we're all in it together, so do it, love it, live it. And then I do need to talk about, let me go through some of these slides here. Got a little off topic. I go squirrel a lot. Oh, do you guys ever do role model or role play in your offices or with a friend? Oh. And if you want to evaluate me, be nice. Here's the QR code. Just need to get to the TCCP warning. Oh, sorry. There it is. The Do Not Call Telephone Consumer Protection Act. Make this your best friend. Take a picture of it. In Keller Williams, just about everywhere, they will have this. Please abide by these rules because you can get in big trouble if you don't and cost yourself and the brokerage money. So please pay attention to the Do Not Call Telephone Consumer Protection Act. Do you have any questions on this? I think we've all pretty much figured it out, yeah. Any other questions or anything else that I can assist you with before we call it a day today? All good? Thank you guys very much.
Thank
and
you.
Once again, Laura Knight, I am on Facebook. I know it's for old people. Hey, white hair. But just go ahead and
Thank
reach
you.
out if you have questions.
Thank you.
Thanks, Georgia. Thanks, Isha. Bye-bye.